There you go.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's 3 o'clock. Welcome to the Madera County Transportation Commission meeting. It is March 20th. We will call this meeting to order and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda is public comment. This time is made available for comments from the public on matters within the board's jurisdiction that are not on the agenda. Each speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Attention is called to the fact that the board is prohibited by law from taking any substantive action on matters discussed that are not on the agenda, and no adverse conclusions should be drawn if the board does not respond to public comment at this time. It is requested that no comments be made during this period on items that are on the agenda. Members of the public may comment on that item when that item is called. Do we have any public comment? Seeing none. None online. None in the room. Thank you. We'll move to item 4, transportation consent items. Any commissioners wishing to pull an item? Discussion? Did we receive any public comment?
No, we did not receive any public comment from.
I will entertain a motion.
Second.
We have first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Item 5, San Joaquin Valley Regional Policy Council Sacramento Valley Voice Valley Voice Trip recap. Road trip.
So on March 13th and 14th, we traveled to Sacramento with the San Joaquin Valley Regional Policy Council. This is our annual trip to Sacramento for the One Voice Trip. Valley Voice Trip is what we refer to it as. There were a number of speaking topics on our platform, such as air quality, rape, the State Route 99, access to federal and state funding, transit, and cap and trade. So there are a number of different issues that we wanted to bring to the attention of our Valley legislative staff and legislators. And so we met with several throughout the 2-day event, but it was really a half day one day and half day another day with an evening and a lunch. But this is the packet. And usually what we do is we just let you all and inform you all that this did take place, and then open it up for any kind of discussion for those that did attend. I attended, as well as our chair, Levy, and so did Supervisor Robert Poitras. And so if the supervisors have any additional comments to add regarding the trip, this is the time.
Well, I'll just say that it was the first lobbying trip I took with MCTC, so thank you for the opportunity. And I was mainly wanting to go to observe to see what happens, but I got thrown into speaking roles. But no, it was great. It was very well organized, very well planned. So I appreciated it, and I thought it went very, very well. I think we were well received, and was very pleased overall.
Yeah, I think it went well. Supervisor Gonzalez, our chair, she made sure that there was one, Senator Caballero couldn't make it because of a busy schedule and committee assignments and all that. And so Letty said, well, I'm going to her office. So she takes the packet and delivers the priorities, and had a chance to sit down with her. So that's really great. She says, well, we're going to figure out a way to get in there. But yes, it was, I thought it was, we had some good participation, more participation from our members of the delegation. The electeds, I believe, were, they received our information, and they seemed to, be well, we brought them up to speed. I think there's some that are more versed on it than others. Obviously, when you're a legislator up there, you know, you're hit with all kinds of different subjects and things of that sort. So I think that it takes them a couple minutes when they walk in the room and they have to think, okay, transportation, 99, but we, you know, hit our points, I think quite well, and we'll continue to follow up. So I believe that we're looking for a time when a Madera delegation can go up and talk about our specific priorities.
Well, that was it. No one else. Did we receive any public comment on this item?
We have not received any.
Okay, we will move on to item 5B, state legislative update.
So, Madam Chair, and check real quickly is there a way that we can move on the agenda, come back to this item, before we get into the authority items? Gus had to take another meeting and he was trying to wrap that up and transfer into this one.
Not a problem. We'll move to item 6, reaffirm all actions taken while sitting as the Transportation Policy Committee.
So move.
Second.
We have first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Item 7, administrative consent items. We do want to note that item 7C was distributed to the commission members, and we should have some copies available if anyone requesting them.
Just one of the handouts was handed out. The item was in the agenda.
Questions, comments? Motions?
I'll move approval.
Second.
First and a second, did we receive any public comment on this item?
Yeah, no hands raised.
Okay.
Good, Madam Commissioner, I'm sorry.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, administrative action items. There are none. So we'll move on to item 9, MCTC sitting as the Madera County 2006 Transportation Authority. Entertain a motion.
Motion to approve. Second.
First and a second, any public comment on this item?
We have not received any comments.
Call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 10 is the Measure T renewal update.
Yes, this is a standing item while we were going through the Measure T process right now, the renewal process. And joining us is Kendall with DKS. Kendall Flint is up in the Oakhurst area, but there's another town hall meeting tonight, so she's joining us remotely, and she'll be providing us an update on the status of where we are today, the town halls and special meetings that are coming up, the schedule for the polling, and next steps. So Kendall, are you?
Thank you so much, and thank you all for letting me do this from Oakhurst. I didn't want to do Mr. Toad's wild ride up here today, but yeah, I wanted to check in with everyone and let you know about all the things that we are doing this month, and there's quite a bit. As you all know, we've been really pushing hard on a number of topics. The first of which I wanted to remind everyone that we've been pushing out social media, both on all of the town hall and special meetings that are happening this week and next week. And also we are encouraging folks to share their ideas with us via our online interactive budgeting platform that allows people to take a look at all the different options for what they might want to do with the Measure T renewal. I'm going to talk a little bit in a moment about sort of the way that the Citizens Advisory Group is coming together, and interestingly enough, how we're seeing their ideas are really being validated by a number of the meetings that we're having right now in terms of those public workshops. Just want to let you know that we are able to track how people are responding to different opportunities for investments and whatnot. And it's actually validating what the committee is talking about. So as an example, we come through the website. It's relatively new. We've already had 602 unique users of that website, and it's literally going up every day. And through our interactive budgeting tool, we're able to see how people are sort of allocating funds. And this is just a snapshot of what we've had thus far. And you can see that right now we're looking at local streets and roads leading the way with evacuation preparedness and bikes and pedestrian. You may remember from my last presentation the way that the committee is moving is to put an umbrella. So we have local streets and roads as an overall, and then evacuation preparedness, bike and pedestrian, and potentially safe routes to schools would all be under that. That would give the jurisdictions the maximum flexibility to do what is most appropriate for them. Here tonight, I'm in Oakhurst, and in Oakhurst, they're very concerned about evacuation preparedness, but that might not be as high of a ticket item for the city of Chowchilla or the city of Madera. And in their case, safe routes to schools and bike pedestrian may be more interesting. So again, this website is continuing to get additional hits and people visiting it. And we're seeing that every day as that number starts to kick up. We're able to track the number of folks that are actually participating in that budgeting tool. And then as we move through this process through most of March and April, we'll be able to show the board and the steering committee sort of the way that the public has moved in terms of their preferences should a measure be renewed, what that allocation should look like in terms of those categories. The website is fully bilingual. So it'll actually multilingual, so it allows anyone to use it or access it in the language of their choice. I think most folks may have already seen this week, we sent a mailer promoting these opportunities as well as the town hall meetings to 57,000 households and businesses throughout the county. This really was an opportunity to give them the information about the upcoming town halls, and then also be able to promote where money has gone to this point and what opportunities there are for them to still weigh in. Want to make it perfectly clear that for these town halls, we're not promoting a specific plan. We're talking about some general guidance that the steering committee has come up with, and then asking people to react to that. And what's interesting is that we're actually seeing a lot of consensus in that area so far. I think you're all familiar with, the dates that are coming up. We had a small but mighty group, I will say, for Supervisor Gonzalez's meeting. Was that last night? They're running together for me now. Last night, and these are continuing to build. I expect that our meeting tonight with Supervisor McCauley is going to be very well attended. And then I've been working with staff for Supervisor Poitras, Supervisor Wamoff, and Supervisor Rogers to again continue promoting these as we move forward. Also, tomorrow night we'll be at the city of Chowchilla. One of the exciting things about this particular special council meeting is that it's also going to be made available on Zoom. And that means that if you couldn't attend the meeting in person, you could certainly attend on Zoom. And then we can also link to it later so that folks that maybe weren't able to attend could do so after. This will also be true of Supervisor Poitras's meeting, which is next Thursday. That'll be the last of the town halls. So if you weren't able to attend one of the county presentations, you would be able to do that at that time. And we also have Madera's City Council having their special meeting, which will be next week as well. And in all cases, we're able to then post these meetings for future use. Now, I wanted to point out, really interesting, we had a meeting last night, I think today's Wednesday, last night in Lavina, and we had about 18 people show up. And what was really interesting about it and great, one of our committee members was there to talk to the group, but overwhelmingly, they very much supported the idea of a shift to a higher investment, which is supported by the steering committee, of as much as 75% and perhaps larger in the local streets and roads category, with a smaller chunk that would then go potentially 19-20% to regional and 4% to transit. This group was also able to express that they are interested, obviously, in bike and pedestrian plans, and then also interested in that potential point-to-point service that might be coming out of the county for transit, as well as service that would, increase the routes and frequencies that are there. One concern that they expressed, and we've heard from other areas, is that there are pockets where it's very difficult to maybe get cell service. So the idea of increasing broadband and other things that provide access that can also be manipulated through the transportation investment plan, that's something that we might be looking at later. Now, the steering committee, as I mentioned last month, again, they're moving towards a goal of simplifying a measure that it makes it very clear where the investments will be going. And overwhelmingly, there seems to be a move to getting additional funds for local streets and roads. The evacuation preparedness funds, certainly here in District 5 and some other areas, are top of mind, but we're also seeing, again, bike, pedestrian, and safe routes to schools, incredibly important to folks. At our last steering committee meeting, really good meeting, and I want to thank the current Citizen Oversight Committee Chair for attending. In this particular conversation, there was a really good discussion, and we came out of that with the idea that the group is likely going to recommend one member for the Citizens Oversight Committee per district with one alternate. And as opposed to the members being chosen by the supervisors or sorry, by the board, they're moving towards having this done as an independent panel, which would prevent any perceived notion of sort of any undue influence. It's kind of the same way that we found with the Citizens Oversight Committee itself. People would apply and there would be an independent group that would take a look at those applications and then select those individuals that were most well suited for that task. The current sort of two leading options would be to have one option that would be the existing COC chair with a representative from Madera County Transportation with one mutual third party that would then work that. Another option would be looking at an independent panel of a third party, such as regional government services or other groups that would, again, not have any stake in the outcome, but be knowledgeable on finance and overall pieces on that. Overwhelmingly, the group is very supportive of quarterly meetings for the advisory committee, or sorry, oversight committee. It's not advisory, it's independent. Oversight committee with an annual report. Now, we've spoken with some of the local agencies, and because of the size of things, there may or may not always be reports that would be coming, based on local road maintenance. Those might come towards the end of the year, but the group is feeling like they could always hear information about tax revenues that have been generated by the quarter, updates on particular projects, regional projects of significance that are funded either in full or in part by Measure T, and other pieces. So they're moving towards that as a piece they want to move forward with. They're also moving towards the idea of an independent auditor that would be selected by the COC. Troy has done a great job of explaining to them that in the way the current thing is set up, there really isn't adequate fundings for that, independent third party. Although there is review, it is always reviewed by the auditors for each of the member agencies and for MCTA. But this is sort of a next layer that some of our other colleagues in the Valley have done. And the group understands that would mean changing the overall allocation for admin, potentially from the 1% that exists today to 1.5%. This would also help fund the opportunity for a more public-facing annual report. Our current annual audits, while compliant, don't really show people what the projects were that were completed each year in a user-friendly format. So that's something they're really leaning towards. And then also, although we did have one member that really wanted to see the COC chair be a member of the MCTC board, it was explained that the board makeup will not be changing. And that would not be feasible between now and especially during November, but that there was an opportunity to agendize a report by the COC chair on a quarterly basis to share information about what the committee has been looking at, any concerns they might have, and that would just add that extra layer of transparency, not only for the public, but for the boards. They would know what's going on with that. Moving forward, our next meeting, which is going to be Tuesday, we're going to be looking at allocation formulas. Currently, the allocation for local streets and road is going by population, and that is looked at every year and updated based on state finance department numbers. We will be running models that will have people look at that both in terms of just population, potentially sales tax revenue, potentially population and road miles and other combinations so that they can have a well-informed discussion. We've been very frank with them, making sure that they understand, and I think staff will be there from the city of Madera, city of Chowchilla, and also from the county, that at least in the city of Chowchilla and Madera's standpoint, they have a very clear idea that though their road miles may not be as large, they also include sidewalks, curbs, and gutters, which is something that the county does not have to deal with. So I'm sure that that will be one of our more, shall we say, robust and lively conversations, and we look forward to that happening. Now, the first 2 weeks of April, we're going to be going back out into the field and conducting a follow-up poll and actually asking people about some of these ideas that the steering committee has put forth, including if we were to up the amount up to 75, 80% in terms of local streets and roads, increase of the citizen oversight committee, and really giving them a stronger feel for their independence, and also structuring them to have bylaws that they would adopt, and make sure that there are places of implementation strategies in place that really give them the ability to facilitate a really good oversight. And then the meeting that we'll be having in April, we'll be coming back to the steering committee and we'll be releasing the results of those polling, as well as all the various meetings that we've been having and will be having over the next several weeks, including all the feedback that was received online. And the hope is that at that meeting, they will be able to come together from consensus and put forth a proposed draft measure for the board to consider. Now, I want to be very clear about this. We've been talking about this from the very beginning. Part of the reason for the formation of the steering committee and the way that we've done this for the 2024 opportunity was the board's support for having a steering committee develop this particular plan. And so there have been some questions about whether or not the board would either not approve that or do what you want to do on your own. And so it's my hope and the hope of the steering committee that we'll continue on the route of actually working with that recommendation and taking that to the voters in the fall. Again, I'm not seeing anything in our previous discussions. I don't think there's anything that has been problematic for the board at this point. So I'm hoping that that is the direction that we're going to continue to go. The board will be hearing the final measure opportunity or the plan that is proposed by the steering committee at its May 29th meeting. And I believe the executive director has made everyone aware that's going to be a week later than the normal meeting. You will also be seeing polling and feedback from all of the outreach and engagement. And in fact, you may actually see that at least the engagement part and the polling part in your in your April meeting. Then the City of Madera Board of Supervisors and Chowchilla will go through their processes to approve the plan, and then it'll come back hopefully to the MCTA board for a final approval on June 19th with a recommendation to ask the Board of Supervisors to place that on the ballot. There was some recent social media chatter. I just want to make sure this is clear. This process of how each agency approves the plan and then it moves through is dictated by state law. So that's not going to change. But the way the plan has been developed, and I would say the heavy lean on public engagement and really transparent taking in of these comments and sharing of these things is different. So I'm hoping that everyone can see that and is aware with that. Finally, I just wanted to note, you probably have seen this already, but we have created additional new signage that has been provided to each of the cities so that they can promote projects and programs that are funded at least in part or in full by Measure T. I know the county has a couple of really big ones coming up and others. It's really important for people to know that there have been a number of projects and programs that would not have been completed without Measure T. And in fact, both the city of Chowchilla and the city of Madera, roughly 30% of their local road maintenance budget comes from Measure T. The county gets 2.5 million approximately per year. And as we look forward to what the measure might look like if it is put up for renewal, those numbers could actually double because of the way that the steering committee is repackaging and rethinking this approach. So I think there's a lot of things to be pretty excited about. And I'm actually really proud of the steering committee and the work that they've done and the very frank and, shall we say, spirited discussions they're having. They have been productive, and I'm very excited to see what they come up with. And with that, I'm available to answer any questions that you might have regarding the process or what is next.
Chairman, just a comment, Kendall, this is Rob. You mentioned something about evacuation routes in the mountains and versus sidewalks and so forth in the cities. Well, it's obvious that, people here in our cities, the last thing from their mind is how do we escape in the event of a fire? And, because there's only about, 40 roads going any direction that you can escape. I mean, it's not even an issue, but it's an issue up there. And so, I mean, it's, those things can be, those things need to be kind of carved out, for each jurisdiction where it makes sense. I mean, it's not going to be, the people where evacuation routes are important, that should be able to be, again, carved out in the county part of it, but in the cities with the funding, I mean, there should be enough flexibility to where it's more about sidewalks and safe routes to schools and things of that sort. So,
yeah, and to your point, that's why the committee worked in that way, Supervisor. So they're saying that rather than say it's 5% here, 10% there, or whatever it looks like, They're talking about an overall that allows that flexibility so that the
Okay.
county, where it's more appropriate for them, they may be more interested in evacuation routes. Whereas the city of Madera or the city of Chowchilla may be more interested in bike, pedestrian, and or safe routes to schools. But by having that flexibility, it doesn't tie everyone up, and it gives them the ability to do what's best for their constituents based on their individual needs.
Okay, great. I thought I heard something else whenever you mentioned that, but that's great. Okay, thank you.
Any other commissioners, comments, questions?
Could you go back to the slide on the latest signs?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So the city of Madera overwhelmingly passed the last Measure T in the effort. So I would suggest that maybe we put the city of Madera logo on there.
Oh, I apologize. I'm only showing 2, but all 3 have been done.
Okay.
So you get
Okay,
your
I
own
checked.
too.
I checked it out.
I only fit 2 on the page.
Yeah, no, you all
Also,
get your
City
own.
of Chowchilla, because I was asking to see it. I don't see that either. So it's like,
Thank you,
And you
Ken.
get those that they say pay a project, it is funded or funded in part. And that art has been shared with all of your public works folks, as well as your city managers and the county administrators.
Well, thank you, Kendall. That's it. Did we have any public comment on this? Oh, Tricia.
No. We have no hands raised at the moment, and we have not received any public comment.
Okay. Well, thank you for that, Kendall. Good luck tonight at your town hall meeting in the mountains. At this time, we will go back to item 5B. I think we saw Gus online.
Thank you. This is a legislative update. Included in your package is a memo from Gus, along with a bill matrix. And so he will explain the status of the state budget or lack thereof. And also some of the bills that we're looking at and supporting or opposing and or watching. Early on in the process, we sometimes don't take positions on bills because they do change through committees. But there are 2 bills that I think we would like to take a position today, and Gus will explain. And those 2 bills are included in your package. With that, Gus, did you want to go ahead and move forward with an overview of the state budget, and then we'll hop into the couple of the bills that we would like to take a position on?
Absolutely. Thank you, Director Taylor. And good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. Gus Corey, State Legislative Advocate, hiding in the bowels of the flex space where you were there, along with Supervisor Porteris for the Valley Voice trip last week. And so we're making rounds. There's a ton of activity. Today's actually the last full day before the legislature goes on its spring recess, which is upon adjournment tomorrow, and then they're out until April 1st. And so the latest development on the state budget is, you may recall that in January, Governor Newsom had estimated that there was about a $38 billion shortfall. The Legislative Analyst Office has come back and said, well, it's probably closer to 73, if not $75 billion. So the state Senate on March 14th came out with just the rough sketch of, can we try to accelerate our response and not wait until the May revise is issued, adopt the budget in June by making some mid-year adjustments. And so what they're thinking about doing is at least using the balance of the rainy day funds, which is about $11 billion, and then seeing if we can stick to the Prop 98 minimum guarantee. And so there's some other assumptions where the governor said, we expect an extra 15 billion of revenue to come in. The LAO was skeptical, so they're having to sort through that. The major thing that we're watching out for is the REAP 2.0 funds. So the Regional Early Action Plan funds, where it's a reimbursement program for our local jurisdictions that fronted their money, got into contracts to build affordable housing, help make more transportation connections, if you will. And by cutting the program in half, they might as well just zero out the whole program, because if we're not going to get reimbursed, we're liable for that. So that's something to be mindful of. We're talking to several legislators about that. And then the Senate Bill 125 funds, which MCTC had a plan as far as how the allocation was going to go out. And so just making sure that those funds are intact. We had our share of $5 billion. So more to come within the coming weeks here. We'll keep you posted on the state budget. With respect to legislation, as Director Taylor mentioned, we took a look at over 2,200 bills. We put some of them on the matrix. Bills will get amended through the course of session. There are a couple for your consideration. So the first bill is AB 2535. This bill would basically take the Trade Corridor Enhancement Program. It's one of the competitive programs that's administered by the CTC, the California Transportation Commission. This gives us access in order to make continued improvements on State Route 99. And what the author wants to do, it's Assemblymember Bonta from Oakland, is she wants to make half the funds available for zero-emission vehicle infrastructure. And she represents the port, so some of the funds could go there. And then she wants to prohibit funds being used for either general purpose or capacity projects, which would clearly undermine our ability to access state funding, to leverage our measured dollars and any other competitive grant funds to fully fund, completion of segments of 99 within the county. So we're recommending an oppose on that one. The second bill, Assembly Bill 3005. This bill would suspend the inflationary adjustment to the gas tax. The problem with that is that's part of the reason why we did Senate Bill 1 is that the gas tax was not keeping up with inflation. And so if we're going to remove the inflationary adjustment, it means that we have less purchasing power and there's going to be less revenue for you to take care of local streets and roads, highway maintenance, and even funding we get through the STIP program, which can address multimodal priorities within the county. So we're recommending an oppose there. And just two other ones we want to bring to your attention. We could probably support Senate Bill 768, which is authored by Senator Caballero, just waiting to see what happens with that bill. This bill is requiring the Air Resources Board to articulate how they're using vehicle miles traveled as a metric to assess project funding worthiness. This is a big deal because we feel that VMT actually winds up hurting our region because we're held to the same standard as the highly densely populated urban areas. So we want a level playing field with the application of VMT. And then the last bill on the list that we're trying to pay attention to, we need a little bit more clarity, is Senate Bill 960. So what this bill would do is it would make the shop responsible for addressing more complete streets projects, which is really important because a lot of times that obligation falls on our shoulders as a planning commission. But the problem is at what expense, because the shop also can't keep up with existing maintenance costs on the state highway system. So we just want to make sure that we're not robbing Paul to pay Peter, if you will, while trying to maybe have some more synergistic collaboration between Caltrans and MPOs such as ourselves in delivering some of these multimodal options while still maintaining our commitment to safety. So that's a wrap on the legislation and the budget. And just really want to thank you, Madam Chair and Supervisor Porthos, again for participating in our the San Joaquin Valley Regional Policy Council Valley Voice Trip last week. I hope that you thought it was a success. I'm happy to take any questions or comments from commissioners. Thank you so much.
Yes. Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have any public comment on this item?
We do not have any.
Okay.
So there's an action.
Oh, there is an action item.
On the two bills, Madam Chair.
Sorry about that.
Separately or together?
You want them?
Why don't we go ahead and take them separately? That'd be.
Make a motion to oppose AB 2535.
Second.
We have first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And I'll make a motion to oppose AB 3005.
Second.
First and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We will jump back to item 11, which is items for staff.
Yes. A couple of important items is, you should have received a couple of emails over the past couple of weeks, and then as earlier as, or as soon as yesterday, or maybe it was today, Sandy sent out. We are postponing the April meeting, from April 17th to April 24th due to conflicts with the supervisors. And then the May meeting, we will be postponing from May 22nd, and the meeting will be on May 29th. And this is because there is a lobby day for the Self-Help Counties Coalition and the California Association of Council of Governments, CalCog, on May 22nd. And Supervisor Poitras is the chair of CalCog. And I am now currently the chair of the Self-Help Counties Coalition. So we will both be in Sacramento that day, taking the lobby day.
Little Madera's taken over. Got the juice.
I just want to give a shout out to my staff. Our plates are really, really full. There's 8 of us, and the teamwork is amazing. They've all stepped up and taken part in various different roles. We have Troy, who's stepping up with all the Measure T, and Dylan attending some of the Measure T. There's a lot of town hall meetings, as you've seen with Kendall, and working real closely with Kendall. There's a big meeting tomorrow, the California Transportation Commission, which is requiring our attention on our 99 projects. And Sandy and Jeff, and Sandy's prepared some binders for us to go and speak and testify. There's one. And Jeff and Sandy worked together to get letters of support. It was last minute, pulling together their letters. We've tapped into a lot of our constituencies to write letters of support. This time we had asked for two separate programs, what the California Transportation Commission is considering tomorrow, which is the STIP, State Transportation Improvement Program, and the SHOP, State Highway Operation and Protection Program. And so there's funding in both of those programs for State Route 99, as well as a rail project for the STIP. But the focus is the State Route 99.
Through the chair, I was just gonna say, you might explain why everything happened last minute. What were some of the things that led up to? I mean, it's like we've known about this meeting, but there were some things that popped up that.
There's some opposition for our projects. Is that what you're referring to?
Right.
And you know, there's a lot of interest groups who consider State Route 99 or any kind of expansion of our highway system as bad and negative for and impacts negatively on some of the disadvantaged communities that may or may not live along the 99 corridor or 1 mile east or west of it. But for us, it's about safety, and it's about completing the system that we don't see it as an expansion. It's continuing, you know, the pinch points and closing those particular gaps. There's a huge safety concern, and there's access. And so we want the travelers through our county to be able to travel safely, have access to Valley Children's Hospital, any kind of medical facilities. There's a lot that do drive the system. We are looking at relocating the Amtrak station, or will be relocating the Amtrak station, and considering a high-speed rail station that is directly off State Route 99. And in addition to that, in order to have any kind of discussion about managed lanes, we need to complete the system. And managed lanes, what we're referring to is a truck-only lane. So the Valley is looking into and is studying currently, the multimodal corridor study is looking into managed lanes. If and when our project in Madera is complete, I think it's 70 miles straight from Tulare or Kern, that once completed will allow for some sort of managed lane, truck-only lane. You can't do that with pinch points. And so there's going to be a lot of advocacy groups out there opposing the project and requesting that our project be deleted from the program. Whether or not the attention will be on that or not, don't know. Fresno has a project as well. Tulare has a project. Kern has a project. We have a project, and there's other projects within the state. So it's going to be a packed room with labor groups and advocacy groups as well.
It's gonna be labor will be advocating for projects and there'll be the others advocating for status quo. Safety versus safety. Okay, thank you.
And then
They're like sitting on 99, moving nowhere, right? I don't understand that.
And I don't know if it's relevant for or not relevant, but the time to go ahead and mention that we've lost another member of our community, Jim Talbert, today. So I didn't know if you were gonna mention that, Supervisor, but, or Mayor. I'll leave that up to you to add some other comments. That's a great loss to as well. I think that's it from staff. I just want to thank staff for stepping up. I don't even have to ask, they just do it. And that's the reason I'm able to go to some of these meetings with their assistance.
All right. We will, next item is items from Caltrans.
She should cover it pretty well, sounds like. We've been scrambled all week because as Executive Director Taylor mentioned, I mean, it's pretty much 99 themed in different shapes and forms, right? You have the shop, there's money in the shop, there's money in the STIP, there's Tulare projects, interchange projects, Madera projects, 2 Madera projects. So it's a pretty big CTC meeting this week. Shifting over to Clean California, quick update. Just wanted to give another quick plug for Clean California Community Days, coinciding with Earth Days on April 19th through 22nd. So we see a lot of cleanups going on throughout the state, and specifically in our district, partnering with different community groups. We're gonna do some tree plantings in Fresno, some different efforts. Do want to thank the mayor. We had a great art unveiling this last Friday on the artwork that was done with Clean California on the block wall that you'll see coming in towards 4th Street on the northbound direction on 99. Very well attended event, so thank you, city, for hosting that. A couple of upcoming discretionary grant programs. So actually during this meeting, there was an email went out to your staff just to keep you looped in for the upcoming letter of support for the upcoming MPDG program. So that program you may be familiar with. I think Madera County has been successful with their rural grant from Madera 41. That includes rural, mega, and infra funding opportunities to USDOT. So the letter of supports for us have to go through the district and through headquarters to be vetted. So it's kind of time sensitive, and we anticipate that notice of funding opportunity coming out in April or May or March or April, and then essentially those requests are due within 14 days of the no-flow. So we'll be communicating with your staff to get those in, because typically, we use Madera County example, working with Jared on some Madera 41 stuff, pretty much going through the process. We're getting the letter like right before the application's due, but so the earlier we get those in, the better. Also another opportunity for Safe Streets for All. There's been success here in this region as well for that program. USDOT, I think this is the 2nd or 3rd time they've offered that. This one's a little confusing. We've sent out the dates to the partners, but there's like 3 different due dates depending on if you're going for planning or implementation grants. First one coming up on April 4th, and the second one on May 6th, and then additional on August 29th. So those ones, and Caltrans cannot apply for those. So if your communities are looking to apply for something in that program, please let us know. Those letters of support we can handle here in the districts will be a really quick turnaround if you reach out to me or my staff. Director Taylor mentioned the managed lane or the draft managed lane study of the corridor management plan that we're working on for 99. So we did provide a draft managed lane deliverable, which is one that early deliverables look at the feasibility of managed lanes going through the corridor. And as indicated, we are envisioning truck lanes because the high truck percentage going through the valley as high as 27-28% in some segments of 99. And we also have a draft analysis plan prepared by a consultant, because we do envision a lot of modeling on how that's going to fit in the 99 corridor, inside lane, middle lane, what have you, for lining that with a future shop project. We're also looking to continue our engagement with our MPOs and their leadership. So we did submit as well a kind of a draft milestone schedule for continued engagement as we hit those milestone marks with our delivery plan of getting together with all the COG directors and their staff to kind of share where we're at for check-ins. And coming up, we'll be looking to set up some technical advisory committees with the subject matter experts from your local agencies. Also, we envision the engagement opportunities starting here pretty quick. I think we have playing 24 virtual engagement opportunities going between Kern County and Sacramento. Portion of those will start off between April and May. We have a promotional video the consultant's working at that'll be going out pretty soon. And then one more thing I want to share before I get into project is CSIS. I know it's been discussed here, I think, at previous board meetings, but that's the Caltrans System Investment Strategy. So it's basically required to captize, so it's seeing how projects align for going after different competitive programs.
So we've been looking at the upcoming like SB1 programs for TCEP we talked about earlier and solution for congestion corridors and running some of those projects through the CSIS tool, like for the Amtrak station relocation, Tulare 6-lane, and I think interchange project. And it's challenging. I mean, we're working with scope and tweaking it to make sure it meets the intent of CSIS. But that guidance is out for public comments that's been shared with a lot of your staff. And so that deadline is April 15th for public comment. And we'll be targeting June for adoption of that. So if you have any more questions, happy to talk to you or your staff regarding that. In terms of projects, as you mentioned, South Madera 6-lane, continue to chip away at that design for that project. That will be heard at CTC along with the North Madera 6-lane project, which is the project where we're in the ITIP has the $4.3 million for environmental funding. So that'll be heard this week at the CTC. The downtown Madera project continues to move forward. We're still looking to have that project ready to advertise by the end of the year for the complete streets element. I didn't want to comment on the shop and the bill. I'm not here to give position on which way to take positions on, but I think in our district, we do take complete streets very seriously. So when we do our shop projects, like we're doing in the 145 project in Chowchilla, we are coordinating to make sure that we are already tasking ourselves and working with our partners on doing complete streets as part of our shop program. So I think we're excelling in that area throughout our district and here in Madera County. So just want to do a quick plug for that. Cottonwood Creek Bridge replacement. So they'll start up work again on that project probably this April when the weather gets better, and they'll start working on the North Brown Bridge. And Madera 41 project, South Expressway. We talked about that one a little earlier, but we worked with Madera County. They just did submit an application for raise funding for additional funding for the southbound lane between Children Boulevard and Avenue 15. It was submitted February 28th. And lastly, Rancho's rehab. This project's still in winter suspension because of the temperatures. So we'll be looking to pick up paving opportunities in May and June once the weather warms up. And that completes my update. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Michael. Any questions, comments?
I have a question in regards to the estimated completion date of the Cottonwood Bridge project.
Cottonwood Creek was, scheduled this summer, tentatively the date I have here, July 15th.
All right, that's good.
Second of all, just a comment on CSIS. It just seems like it's another layer of complexity and just another brick in the wall in terms of ability for local jurisdictions and so forth to provide, input and to, move forward on projects that are important to us, because it's what goes into CSIS as far as the is it going to be a one size fits all? Is it going to recognize geographical differences? So it's something that was actually on our list of priorities that we talked about to the legislators, in terms of what goes into that. And then finally, I was just going to mention that I really enjoyed the murals. The problem is that the people in back of me didn't enjoy me having to slow down to take a look at the murals. I mean, 35, 40 miles an hour, I thought that was okay. People didn't seem to appreciate that.
Contributed to the bottleneck.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, it was great. It was nice at the Art of Got to meet some really talented artists. That was a great opportunity to get that local support. In terms of CSIS, all I'll say is, it is added layer. It's challenging, but I think it's helping us scope more holistic projects, at least the way we're trying to tackle it. And I think we're doing the right things here in the district, and we're getting support because you think about the quarter plan we're doing and trying to identify the possibility for truck only lanes. I think getting that done here in the next year or so, and then that way when we start applying for other discretionary funds like TCEP, when we start going out, right now when we apply for the grant, we have to tell the story that, okay, we need the general purpose lanes in order to get to the truck only lanes. But once we get through environmental Madera and have the quarter plan done, and we have that connectivity like Director Taylor talked about for the 70 consecutive miles where it's viable to, then we can build the project, add those lanes and convert the truck lanes at the same time. And I think that'll help us score much higher with CSIS and be much more in alignment in doing those projects. So I think, and the same thing with the interchanges. I think we looked at one in Tulare we're doing a lot of completion elements at the Ag Center. You're familiar with the Page Interchange? We're doing a lot of connectivity for east and west side 99. We're doing roundabouts for calming. We're doing bike and pedestrian facilities that aren't there. So it really helps our accessibility score. So I think it's kind of making us think outside, I should say outside the box, but making sure we're being cognizant of the complete streets needs over there and then the goods movement and the managed lanes. So I think it is helping us with our project, which I think will help us be hopefully competitive as we put our projects through the CSIS lens.
I'm gonna remember this day in your comments.
So, fingers crossed.
March 20th.
Yes, yes.
All right, thank you, Michael. Any questions or comments from Michael?
I just wanted to thank you for taking care of that southbound ramp down Nightfall.
I had to do it on a Sunday.
I know.
To myself on a Sunday and get it done. It took a couple of
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Glad it finally got done.
All right, well, thank you, Michael. Next item, items from the commissioners. We'll start with Commissioner Poitras.
I have no further comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Garcia.
Yes, I was speaking to Michael Pistoresi just before this meeting had started. And he conveyed the sad news that Jim Talbert had passed away today after a long illness. He was a good friend and mentor to many of us in this room. He served the city of Madera and Madera County for over 37 years in various ways. He transformed the look of Madera in many ways. He put his footprint on it. He loved Madera as much as many of us in this room does. Personally, he, my son, who is now a probation officer here in Madera County, was a good friend of his son, and they would take him on their traveling team sports all over the state of California. So we've known the family for quite a long time, and he had a big influence on my son as he was growing up. And I'm sure that I called my son, and he didn't know about it yet. So just keep the family in your prayers. That was a tremendous loss for our city today and our county. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. Commissioner Ahmed,
I don't have anything to do.
Commissioner Rogers.
Yeah, my condolences to Jim Talbert's family and knew him well, served with him in a number of different things. Gonna miss him.
Yes, indeed. Likewise, and I just want to echo Patricia's comments. What you come in your team. All of us here serve on various boards and commissions and work with the staffs of those commissions, and by far this is a great team to work with. So thank you for all of your hard work. It takes a lot to do that. So thank you very much. Closed session, there's nothing. And with that, we will adjourn at 3:53. I told you.